Hello, I'm Kara. I go to school and I'm the most unusual girl in school. Perhaps you think that I'm the prettiest, like a beauty queen? No, you're wrong. Now you've probably imagined an athlete, for example, a boxer. After all, a girl boxer is not common. And again, you're wrong. Perhaps you thought that I was a computer genius and can write programs at a speed of 1000 code characters per minute. And again, you did not guess. I am unusual because I use a wheelchair. But I go to a regular high school. This was not always the case, but let's talk about it. I have always been in a wheelchair since I can remember. I did not think it was something unusual, and in my life there were always people like me. My family lived in a small town where everyone knew and helped each other. We had one school for everyone, but all the conditions were created for all types of people who studied there. And when I was crossing the road, the drivers would always let me through, waving their hands and telling me to say hi back to my parents. Although there was no ramp in the store, our loader, Mr. Michael, always helped me up the stairs, and all the customers let me pass through. It was a small, cozy world in which I lived comfortably, and I did not notice that I was moving in wheels. Everything was very natural and easy for me. This year, however, my dad got a promotion and we moved to a big city. Mom was very happy because there were a lot more opportunities, a lot more interesting places, more good doctors. She and I dreamed a lot about living a big city life. But then we got hit with a harsh reality. The first problem was the school. At school, I ended up being the only student with that disability. This meant that everything at school was not adapted for a wheelchair. The most accessible for me was the dining hall and the classrooms on the ground floor. The second floor was almost inaccessible because the elevator often did not work and there was no one to lift me. As a result, I watched some of the classes online, sitting on the first floor. But even that was not the most difficult thing. It was difficult to get to school. The school bus was not wheelchair accessible. We lived very close to the school and it was decided that I would get there myself. I was used to doing this in our city. I was used to doing this in our town, but how wrong was I when I decided that everything would be the same here? The way to school was only 10 minutes, but it took me an hour on the first day. It was like fighting your way through a jungle full of traps and wild animals. The sidewalk was even but very narrow, so people were constantly trying to get around me and I had to stop a lot to let them pass. When I reached the road, I found out that the traffic light button was very high and I could not reach it, and naturally I had to ask for help. But apparently in a big city there were a lot more people and they were all in a hurry, or did not hear me because of headphones, or were busy talking on the phone. I tried to cross the road, but it was impossible. Everyone ran very quickly, pushed me from all sides and did not let me through, and in the end I was left standing in the middle of the road when the red light blinked and the drivers started honking and shouting for me to pass faster. I was so confused that I seemed to be paralyzed in the road and I could not move. As a result, a man helped me cross the road, and I probably would not be able to by myself. Then it was even worse. The sidewalk was being repaired and I had to go down to the underground pass, but the elevator did not work and I had to go around. When I was almost at school, I realized that I could not cross the road because there was a curb and there was no way for me to get to the pedestrian crossing. And again, it was the same nightmare. Everyone was running, talking on the phone, listening to music, or just talking to each other. And I stood there alone and could not go down from the curb. I asked everyone for help, and in the end, a man helped me, and I tried to get across the road very quickly. They did not let me through either, and I was in a hurry and ran into a woman's leg. She was cursing loudly, but I did not care. I was just in shock. There was a similar curb on the other side of the road. It was just awful. I understood that now the red light would flash again and all the drivers would shout at me. I stopped at the curb and suddenly someone lifted me and helped me get onto the sidewalk. It was just a miracle, but I was so upset that I did not even quickly realize who this person was. I realized that I was very late for school and I moved quickly. The sidewalk in front of me was flat and wide and I decided that all my obstacles were left behind. But when I arrived at school, I just dropped my hands and started crying. There were stairs leading to the school. Those 5 steps which made the school beginning out of reach for me. I had been through so much that morning, but it turns out that all that was useless. There was no ramp, which meant that everything was in vain. I was afraid to go back on the crazy journey again, but I could not go forward either. I was just crying. The first day at school is always a test, but only today I realized how difficult it can get. I heard a man's voice. I turned to him, and through the tears, he seemed very familiar to me, but I did not know him. "Come on, there is another door behind the school and there are no steps there," he said, and I followed him. This was my first entrance to the new school, through the back door. I thought it was a bad sign. And when I found out that besides all that, I could not get to the second floor and I had to study online, my assumptions were all confirmed. I did not even meet anyone on that day. After the classes, my mom picked me up. I was silent and cried all the way home because I loved school and I really wanted to be among people, but it looked like the big city took it all away from me. In the morning, I refused to go to school and I did not even want to leave my room. Mom tried to persuade me for a long time and then she left for work. And I wanted to return to my small town where everyone was so kind. In that town, I was not a burden or an inconvenience, but a proper member of society. This went on for several days. One morning, there was a knock on the door. I heard a man's voice, and it sounded familiar. "Come out, or we'll be late for school, and my students can't miss history. They have an interesting topic today," he said. When I went out, there was the same man who took me to school and helped me cross the road. It turns out that he works at our school. I did not want to go, but he told me that it was important and he really needed my help. On the way to school, it turned out that he went to the mayor's office and told my story, and now he really needed my help to describe all the obstacles to eliminate them. All the way, I told him what the difficulties were, and he wrote everything down and of course helped me get through. We quickly got to school and I made it to the first class. I entered the school through the back door again, but a surprise awaited me there. The elevator was repaired and today I could get to the second floor and even the third floor. I met all my classmates and was very happy about that. Now, every morning, one of them helps me get to school, and we're looking for places in the city that are not wheelchair accessible and send all of our data to the mayor's office. And the results are visible even now. The elevator in the subway was repaired and the curb by the road was removed and an exit was made, and the mayor also promises to change the buttons on the traffic lights. But the most important thing is that our school made a ramp, and today I and 2 more new students in wheelchairs will first get into the school through the front door. And this is a big deal. It turns out that they used to be homeschooled because their parents decided that they would not be able to get into a normal school, and they did not even try. And looking at us, other students began to pay attention and help people who needed it. There is still a lot to change, but the first steps were done. And thanks to all of us, this big, complex city is getting kinder, and they call me the most unusual girl in school. Why do you think they gave me such a nickname? Write your thoughts in the comments and I will definitely read all of them. And also, don't forget to subscribe. Hello, my name is Winona. I am the most ordinary girl who loves her friends, math, and cat. But today is not about me. I want to tell you about my sister. My sister is 5 years older than me. She's very beautiful and plays tennis really well. She has many awards, certificates, and medals. She also loves the mountains very much. She just adores the outdoors. She's ready to spend all her free time climbing walls or going to the mountains. She started rock climbing a long time ago and achieved great success in it. My sister Sadie is the pride of not only the family but also the whole school. She has many fans and many friends. It has always been this way, but for the last 2 years now, she's been sitting in a wheelchair. 2 years ago, she had a bad fall while hiking in the mountains. She injured her spine and could no longer walk. It was a real shock to our family. We were so used to seeing her in motion that we simply could not understand why she now had to sit and not move. It was very difficult for all of us, so hard that at first we could not help her with anything. We all gradually got depressed. Then our dad, as he woke up from a long sleep, he gathered us all except for Sadie for a family meeting, and we developed a line of behavior with her. Now we treated her as our equal, trying by all means not to pay attention to this huge change. At first, she was frustrated, demanded that we continue to feel sorry for her and do whatever she wants, but over time she began to understand that it was just better for her to be independent. By now, she has grown so independent that we even stopped noticing her chair altogether and did not think that she was somehow limited in her abilities. But it turned out that she remembers this, remembers it every day. Sadie always had one dream that she never had time for. She wanted to dance. Athletic dances fascinated her, but the mountains attracted her even more. Now she could not be in the mountains and dancing was not available, but the internet was there. And here you can listen to music and watch dance videos every single day. My parents were delighted to see her new hobby. They hoped that this would help her become even more independent. Recently, Sadie became to spend a lot more time online. No, she hasn't signed up on a dating site, but she clearly met someone. I was terribly curious, but she guarded her secret and did not give me even the slightest chance to look into her laptop. She was so passionate that it became more and more interesting for me. Sometime later, the messaging on the laptop switched to texting on the phone, and now she often received text messages in different apps. She was always waiting for them. And then one day at dinner, she asked our parents for money to learn some computer program. She did not want to explain which one exactly. She just said it was important. My parents agreed without any questions, and my curiosity became even stronger. What's going on? What was Sadie up to? Maybe she talked with hackers and they taught her how to break codes? Or maybe she became a helper of an FBI agent, and when we don't see her, she sits on her laptop, watches his movements, and then tells him into the earpiece where the way out of the trap is. Or maybe she has become a secret fashion stylist of celebrities and orders them many outfits from home, and she needed a program that designs different looks. I had so many options in my head, but I did not know the truth. And lately, Sadie locked herself in her room even more often and spent more and more time texting someone. So the more I wanted to look into her laptop. For more than a month, I tried to see what she was learning, but all my attempts failed, and then one day Sadie lost her guard and did not turn off her laptop. I was finally able to see what she was hiding, and what I saw just killed me. When Sadie caught me studying her laptop, she started screaming that I had no right, but I was so shocked that I did not care. I just got up and silently left the room. She locked herself in her room, and from that day on, in our house, all movements were as if on schedule. She left her room when I was sitting in mine, and I went out when I heard her bedroom door close. Our parents did not understand what was going on, but every time they tried to talk to us, we just shut our doors in front of them. One morning, I woke up early again, lay in my bed and thought, why is she doing this? For what? The photos that I saw on her laptop floated before my eyes. It became clear what program she was trying to learn so hard. But why does she need all this? After all, we all spent so much time on her recovery, and it turns out that we overcame it, but she didn't. Suddenly, there was a soft knock on my room. I thought I imagined it, but no. I opened the door and Sadie was there. "You have to help me," she said in a quick whisper. "This is very important, please." I could not refuse her and went with her. I saw messages on the laptop screen. I read them all and asked for an explanation. Sadie burst into tears and began talking. She said that despite all our efforts, every day, every minute, she thinks about what she has become. She feels awful in this chair. She hadn't had time to do so many things and she so wanted to get rid of it, but it was not possible. She still had a long recovery ahead. And she so wants to dance, hike the mountains as before, to be the star of the school. And then she began to talk to people in different forums, behaving as if nothing had happened. She knew and experienced a lot of things, and it was not difficult for her to seem believable. She liked it because online she was still the same girl as 2 years ago. And there, on one of the forums, she met him, the guy of her dreams. And instead of telling him the truth, she continued her game. Once he asked for a photo, but she understood that a picture from 2 years ago could betray her, and then asked our parents for money to learn Photoshop. She was good at it, and it was these photos that I found on her laptop. It was they who brought me into such shock. On them, she again went hiking in the mountains and, of course, danced. But today, he wrote her that he can no longer message her at a distance and that he is ready to rescue her from her castle, like some enchanted princess. And then he called and said that she should look out of the window, and now she does not know what to do because he's waiting and she cannot come out like this. I hugged her and said only one thing: you are what you see yourself, and you cannot always hide from their reality. After that, I saw my determined, brave sister again. She went out to meet him. I was so proud of her. They sat in the garden and talked, drank lemonade, and her voice was very happy. After a couple of hours, he left and disappeared. She could not find a place for herself, blamed me for everything, and again hid in her room. A week has passed. In the morning, he again stood by her window near the car and shouted, "Princess, I am waiting for you. Come out. The faithful horse is waiting." She again knocked on my door, panicking, and we got ready for a date. But what he came up with was just a spectacular surprise. It turns out that he disappeared for a week and did not call because, first of all, what he saw came as a shock to him. Yes, she herself made this mess with photos and stories about her active life as a dancer rock climber, and it's hard to blame him for his feelings when they just met. Second of all, the first date reinforced his feelings towards her, and he wanted to see her again. Third of all, he realized how much she liked dancing, and she openly admitted that she completely invented this part of her life. And so he was looking for options on how to help have this dream come true. And today he came to take her to an athletic dance class. We were all looking forward for her return. A year has passed. Now our house is very busy. There's always talk about new dresses for performances, about competitions and trips to other cities. Dad made a separate shelf for Sadie's cups. She returned to school again and was a star. Now many envy her, thinking how lucky she is with her boyfriend. But I believe that she has always been and always will be like that, no matter what. What do you think? Maybe she really wouldn't have achieved all of this without her boyfriend? Leave us some comments and press the like button if you like this story.